All right, you guys ready? Everybody ready online? All right, we're a little bit late, but we'll get with it. All right. Father, we ask to just find people with open eyes and open ears. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, this is my little Bible study, and we are back in the book of Exodus. Man, I messed up my entry just completely, didn't I? The same one I use every time, and I just screwed it up. Really, really bad. Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah, by the way, we forgot that part. Today is also Wednesday, March 8th, 2023, just so we can get this down when we know we met. Anyway.
We're on chapter 20 of Exodus.
Yeah, we are actually on chapter 20 of Exodus. Verse 22 of I act like I know what I'm doing. All right, now, you're going to find in this a couple times, I'm just going to admit, I'm going to look at you and go, I do not know what this means. You've told me, and I'll learn from you. If you figure it out, let me know. You'll see, because I'll go, I don't know what it's talking about. All right. But for what I do know what we're talking about, let's review just a little bit. All right, since it's been a while since we've actually been in the book of Exodus, per se, specifically Exodus. There's been a lot of time, the last couple times in Deuteronomy, talking about manslayer and murder, and I think we've pretty much laid that out pretty good, what the Bible says about it. Well, when it comes to the kill me stuff, there's a few more that you're going to get added to it, all right? Because the people that say that the Hebrew people didn't have corporal punishment or capital punishment, they never bothered to read the book, all right? It's been a long time since I've heard anybody say that, but anyway, but I have heard it in my life. All right, now the best way to do this is just jump right in it. We're going to pick it up with something that really doesn't apply today, and it's laws about altars. All right, but there's still some things we can learn from it. All right, let's just see what it says. Verse 22 of chapter 20 of the book of Exodus. And Yahweh said unto Moses, Thus shall say unto the children of Israel, Ye have seen that I have talked with you from heaven. Remember, if you remember what he was talking about before at the mountain, scared them to death, they're in the other end, right? Said Moses, you go talk and then you tell us and we'll do whatever you say. Well, they don't do that. They said they would, but they never do. All right. 23. Ye shall not make with me gods of silver, neither shall ye make unto you gods of gold. All right. Pretty simple statement. We've already heard this repeated a couple times, right? 24. An altar of earth shalt thou make unto me, and shall sacrifice thereon thy burnt offerings, thy peace offerings, thy sheep, thine oxen. In all places where I record my name, I will come unto thee, and I will bless thee. All right, now the thing you need to get out of that, where did he record his name for us? As Christians, he was recorded with Emmanuel, which means God with us, right? So that's where these things are now that they just listed off, but at this time they weren't quite yet. All right? Now what did he say? He said that you're going to make an earthen mound, and on that's where you're going to do your sacrifices, right? It's going to, you're going to do a little bit, it'll tell you a little bit more here. 25. And if thou wilt make an altar of stone, thou shalt not build it of hewn stone. For if thou lift up a tool upon it, thou hast polluted it. All right, pretty straightforward, right? Neither shalt thou go up by steps unto mine altar, that thy nakedness be not discovered thereon. Okay, so look at the setup. Okay, now listen. Okay, that's right. Now listen. Okay, we're talking about two things. One's an earthen mound, right? And then he's talking about on the top of that altar, you're going to actually build the altar where you do the sacrifice. All right, the stones that you find that are there at the site are what you use to build the altar with. If you shape them in any way, then they're ruined. You can't use them on an altar. Now, how does this apply to us today? Well, not really in a lot of ways that would matter a lot, except in this. When you look archaeologically at stuff, all right, you're going to be presented with a lot of things in archaeology where they say this is a Hebrew altar, or this is this altar or that altar, right? Well, look at it.
It would be a lot easier.
Okay, right. You'll be able to tell, right, what is actually what the altar is. It won't be tool marked. It won't be made of bricks, and it doesn't have steps that lead up to it. All right. So it's really important. Now, they just found one in Jerusalem that dates back to the Abrahamic era, all right? And it's exactly like it says there in the law. It's built out of just stones. They've not been shaped at all. The floor has a big blood groove in it where it runs away from the altar and then into the little pool where they would have collected up and then disposed of it correctly. But you look at the altar and the place where the sacrifice is actually made, and you can tell that there's not been any tool marks laid on it. It's cemented together pretty good, but it's not been shaped in any way. Now, the reason the other states is that they don't see the nakedness of the priest, Well, what if he falls over and, shows his butt to the world? Think about what's going on. No steps, all right? So it's going to be like a handicap.
Yeah.
And it's going to be just a ramp that goes up to it, right? You're going to be bringing oxen and sheep and all these things. If you ever tried to take an ox up a pair of steps, they don't Google real good. And you will show up flipped upside down and show your posterior to everybody that's there. All right? So that's part of the reasoning for all this, and that's that statement that he's talking about. They're going to be bringing up young sacrifices, all right? Young things get excited, especially in new situations. There's going to be the smell of blood.
Feel the tension in the air.
Yeah, they feel the tension in the air, right? So if you're trying to haul them up a set of steps, you're definitely going to get flipped upside down, right? Right. So because of that, you would call them directly. But we'll just go on while you figure out what that is. All right. So that's a little bit about that. Now, just keep that in mind. Then, when you say this is either a Hebrew altar, or this altar, you can tell if it's actually combined with the old Hebrew law based on what it's built of, because you'll see a lot of them that are made out of brick. Yeah, you'll see a lot of them with these almost cut horns on each corners, but they're not actually compliant with the law.
Yeah, those aren't true Christian.
That's right. They're especially the old Judaic kind of stuff. Now, Israel goes through many errors where they get way away from the law. Yeah. So just because it's not made of uncut stone doesn't mean that it might not date from from antiquity, all right? But it could date from an era when they had been falling away from a whole bunch, So, but you just kind of keep those things in mind. It helps keep you. This one that you saw, if you've seen it, you would do exactly what people were thinking about when they built it. It would have been that right there. All right, now let's go over to 21. All right, here's another one that doesn't really apply. But it did not too long ago in our history. All right, if you remember early American history, right? When we first started trying to get people to come over here, it was a wilderness. People were dying. It was cold. There was stuff ate you here. Yep. Right? The journey itself was very, right. And it was very, very expensive. So for poor people trying to escape, in the middle of Europe trying to get out and make a living at least, they would sell themselves into, we called it indentured servitude back then, right?
The whole time to pay the
rent. Right. Well, that has a biblical basis, that idea of doing that. All right. Now, this is the law about doing that. Now, you're going to find out that when man gets involved with most things, the law gets screwed up when you talk about indentured servitude, because you remember what happened with that. People were being supercharged. They were working twice as long as they were told that they would have to, and being charged twice as much doing it. Yep. The same thing went on in the coal mines and stuff like that, where you sold my soul to the company store, right?
Steel mills.
That's right.
All of it, yeah.
So the same company that was owning the coal was also holding the store, and you were just a servant in the middle of it, right?
The uranium girls, you've seen that.
Right. Yeah. Now, all those things kind of come from what we're getting ready to talk about tonight, all right? Now, this is law about slaves. Now, I don't like this title. This is not actually in part of the text, all right, because the Hebrews had no slaves. All right, they were slaves, but they didn't keep slaves. But this is as close as it gets to it, all right? All right, 21 verse 1. Now, these are the judgments which I shall set before them. If thou buy an Hebrew servant. All right, first of all, who are we talking about? We're talking about one of his people.
Yeah.
All right, we're not talking about a foreigner from another country. We're talking about one of your own. Okay, now that's specific to the law. Now, a foreigner could come to your land and become one of your people if he converts and follows God. Yeah. Then he's a brother. Yeah, and you'll be punished if you treat him any different than somebody that grew from the womb of Israel itself. All right? That's all law, which we'll get into too. All right? But, so a Hebrew man or a Hebrew woman, all right, 6 years he shall serve, and in the 7th year he shall go out free for nothing. Right? So he's been in a hard time. Made a deal. I need to eat. My family needs to eat. I'll work for you for 6 years. After 6 years, we'll see where we go from there. Right. No problem. But this man cannot keep him longer than 6 years. And that's the law. Now, he gets punished if he tries to exceed that, all right? Now, listen to what it says. If he came in by himself, he should go out by himself. If he were married, then his wife should go out with him, all right? So if I sold myself in and me and Elena and our kids, we went in, if I went into my servitude with her, her and my kids leave with me. All right? It's fair. All right? Verse 4, if the master have given him a wife, all right, we're kind of changing gears a little bit, right? Now, if the master has given a man a wife, she has borne him sons and daughters, and the wife and her child shall, the wife and her child shall be her master's, and he shall go out by himself. All right, let's think about what's going on here. It's tough stuff, huh? Yeah. Okay, but what's happened? He's married another servant.
Yeah.
The master gave him another wife that was another servant. He's finished his 6 years.
You don't want to lose his
Right,
servant.
right. But she still owes her time.
Yeah. So
Okay, so he doesn't mean they can't still be together,
exactly.
but she still is bound here until her contract's full.
Right.
All right, and then her and her children will be free to go and join her husband. All right, you see where how the law is? It's fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
And that's the point. This law is actually very, very fair when you start breaking it down. All right? And if a servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my wife and my children, I will not go out free. Now, this is at the end of 6 years. He's been given the option. You have an option to renew, so to speak.
He's happy, yeah.
Yeah, he's happy. He's got a good life.
Yeah.
He came there broke. He's got a wife now. He's got kids now.
to sleep in,
The good man he's working for. He takes real good care of him. He's made some money. He's made this other man wealthy.
Little bit of
it's a good
respect,
deal.
yeah.
Right. He's got some respect, right, that goes with his position. He's maybe worked his way up through the ranks and whatever they're doing.
Right.
All right, so he's got a good life. All right. Then what happens? Then the master shall bring him unto the judges. Back to the judges again. Those Levites with those cities we talked about. All right. The judge, and he shall say, bring him to the, he shall also bring him to the door or into the doorpost, and his master shall bore his ear through with an awl, and he shall serve him forever. All right? That's reenlistment right there, buddy.
So,
Okay.
Okay, so if you saw in these times, if you saw a guy with an earring, a hole in his ear, he was an indentured servant.
Right, that's right. Okay.
Permanent.
Now, I was talking to Casey about this not too long ago. Okay, now look. Now, think about through our history. We got this history of pirates, right?
Yeah,
Through history.
always
Well,
with
all of them got a pierced ear, right?
Pierced ear.
Okay. The reason why is because they're all
They
slaves.
all follow a captain.
They're all captives.
indentured
Yes,
servants to
they're
their ship.
slaves, right?
Yeah.
They're all slaves, and they all broke away. So that's why you always depict them with earrings. They're a product of the slavery
cool.
result.
I didn't know. Yeah. That's
Also, okay, the bird. You got a stereotypical bird, right? Okay, well, remember in mines in the early days, you didn't have gas detection. You
That
took the
was
bird
their gas
down,
detection,
right?
yeah.
And when they got out, they took the bird with them. And that's how come the pirates were always predicted with earrings and birds, just because
That's right, yeah.
they're rebellious
And that, too,
slaves.
When you're on ships, birds are the first one to find land. They
That's
fly
it,
all
yeah,
over
right.
the
But
land.
they bring them, they brought them out of the cave, out of the mines and the places that they revolted from to become pirates, right? Right. And that's what this is about right here. Okay, now this man's voluntarily becoming a slave to this man, all right? Now, he still has rights, don't get me wrong. He's still got his position within this man. He's got a good job. This dude, he's welded now to this family. All right, that 6 years doesn't apply. There's another thing that we'll learn about. It's called the Jubilee year, the 50-year Jubilee. Well, everything reverts and everything changes at that on the Jubilee year, which we'll cover here after a while. Or not tonight, but sometime. All right. Now, let's go on. 7. And if a man sell his daughter to be a maidservant. Just rough stuff, right? Remember the time they lived. It was a hard time. Okay, families come into problems. Maybe he can't work as a daughter. He agrees to sell her as a servant in order for him to make it. All right, it basically is what's happening. You can argue about fair or not fair. It's just the way people view. This happens in other cultures and other places around the world too. And exactly the same thing, all right? All right, now listen to what it says. And if a man's maidservant, she shall not go out as the men servant do, all right? You don't take a woman and stick her in a situation where she's got a bunch of farm hands and she's in the middle of nowhere with a bunch of men.
Yeah.
All right.
You don't put her in.
You don't know who they are. You may have 15 people working. You don't know half of them. All right. And the law prevents them. So basically, he's telling you got to protect this woman.
Yeah.
You don't just because she's a hired hand. You don't. She's not your real. She's not a slave for real. She got some kind of rights. So she gets to do a different kind of work where she's actually going to be safe. All right, and that's worked into under the law. All right. Now, verse 8. If she please not her master, all right, who hath betrothed her to himself, then he shall let her be redeemed, which means if he bought her or he paid her for her indentured servitude, he wants to betroth her, all right? If it doesn't work out what he's saying, his family has the right to redeem her at any time, right? You see what I'm saying? She may be a servant, but if this is not working out and she's in danger, they have the right to pay her bill and take her with them and get her home. All right. So that's what he's telling us. You have the right. That's what that's about. All right. Now, listen to what it says in 9. And if he hath betrothed her unto his son, he shall deal with her after the manner of daughters, which we'll get to, which gets her specific rights as a daughter. All right. It's not a stranger. This is one of the daughters. So she gets certain specific, for instance, like a dowry, certain things like that would actually protect her, all right? So, verse 10, and if he take him another wife, all right? So, he has one, it's not working out, let's just say, all right? And he's not really divorced her, all right? But he goes ahead and he takes another wife anyway, all right? That's what he's talking about. He's talking about her food, or talking about the first woman, her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage, shall he not diminish. He has to take care of her. All right? Yeah, you can't just throw her out because you bought a new wife, because you got a new wife. Even though it wasn't working out good, she's still speed traveling in the manner of daughters. All right, so she's got rights. And if you don't take care of these three things with her, let's say she's got children he needs to take care of, raiment, so her possessions, property would be also included in that. Food, so housing and food, all these things enter into play. And if he doesn't take care of all three of that, she's free to go. All right? And if he can't do it with the first wife and he can't deal with her, what's his options? A divorce. He writes her out a bill of divorcement and she goes on her way and she's free to go and be another man's wife. All right? God worked that divorce, and we don't hit on this in the church enough.
One of my favorite lessons actually was going through
the divorce thing, right? Because
all this junk in our society.
Right. We treat people really bad based on marriage, and the church abandoned what marriage has to do with in the Bible a long time ago.
To me, it seems like biblically there's not much emphasis on weddings and relationships between men. There is, but not to the extent of where you're causing great sin.
That's right. Well, it goes back to what is what. We're going to get to it this next chapter. We get right to marriage here in just a minute. All right. Well, she's okay. And if he do not these three unto her, then she is free to go free without money. All right, she's free to get out of there. Just didn't work out. All right, let's just call it even and go home. All right, 12. All right, here we're switching gears. He that smiteth a man so that he die shall be surely put to death. Right? This is somebody that's premeditated, right? We've talked about this one before. It's going to cover it a little bit more as we go. Listen to what it says, verse 13. And if a man lieth not in wait. So we're talking about a manslayer, but it was an accident, right? But God deliver him into his hands, then I will appoint thee a place whither he shall flee. And we talked about that in the cities, the 6 cities that end up, the cities of refuge. But this is Exodus, and they've not quite made it in yet, right? They're going to get a little detour. All right, 14, but if a man come presumptuously unto his neighbor to slay him with guile, thou shalt take him from my altar that he may die. All right, and we covered this pretty good last couple of weeks. So we know the difference between a manslayer and a murderer and what the differences is, all right? Now, 15, he that smiteth his father or his mother shall be surely put to death. All right. He that stealeth a man, So we're talking about kidnapping, right?
Yeah.
He that stealeth a man. And sell him, or if he be found in his hand, or as you caught him, you got him tied up under the stairs, and you've caught him that way, he shall surely be put to death. All right? Now, last couple of weeks I covered Jessica Lynch pretty good. Now, think about this. He murdered her, he raped her, he kidnapped her, and they found him. So there's 3 counts that require biblically the death penalty for this guy. And he got none of it. All right? Remember last week we talked about the kid that went in Georgia, murdered 10 people, he killed 10 black people because they were black and buying groceries.
Yeah.
Okay? He got 10 consecutive life sentences.
He should have been killed.
He should have been hung on the first one. Right.
Or stoned.
Yeah, well, yeah, I hang. That's like, so when these things happen, what's it say? If you take care of this the way it says, these people will see and these things will cease to happen. Because it turns out, if you hang one crazy guy, the other crazy people aren't so crazy.
That were watching stop doing
That's exactly right. And that one will never do it again. Okay? Verse 17. He that curseth his father or his mother shall surely be put to death. Now think about this. How long, most moms go, I don't believe this has ever happened. I don't think it's ever happened where somebody was put to death according to this law. Quite honestly, because I know mothers.
Yeah.
How far will a mother go for a child?
That's right.
It would be a long way before she would make this claim in front of the judges. Something really bad would have to have happened for most mothers that I know anyway. All right? Now listen, verse 18. And if a man strive together and one smite another with a stone or with his fist, and he die not but keep his bed, if he rise again and walk abroad on his staff, then shall he that smote him be quiet. All right, the guy that hit him, shut up. You don't got nothing to say at this point. Only he shall pay for the loss of his time and shall cause him to be thoroughly healed.
So he takes up his duties until
That's right. And this is what are the 2 types of damages? One punitive damages and another one. I can't remember what it is. There's 2 types of damages awarded in assault. That's actually probably both of these. Yeah. One for time and then one for damage, loss of, you hurt me, right? Right. So that we often see that one actually kind of fulfilled in our culture,
Yeah,
Now, listen to 20. And if a man smite his servant or his maidservant with a rod, and he die under his hand, he shall be surely punished. All right, a little bit different here, all right? He's killed one of his servants, didn't mean to, and it says he'll be punished. So what would happen then, whoever the kinsman redeemer or the avenger of blood for that one that died, they would have to make an appearance in front of the judges, and then the judges would reward punitive damages based on what the evidence was. He just walked up and hit him in the head for no reason. Well, you could get in a lot more trouble than, he was just helping change a wheel and it fell on his chest and he crushed him. There's a difference in the two things. Right. So there's a lot of things then that the judges consider just like you would in a court, right? And here's the evidence. All right. 21. Notwithstanding, if he continue a day or 2, he shall not be punished, for he is his money. Now, tough stuff. Like I said, he paid for him, all right? Now, like I said, we don't do this anymore, but that's what the law reads, all right? 22, if a man strive and hurt a woman with child, all right, so that her fruit depart from her, yet no mischief follow. So he hurt her. She lost the baby, but it wasn't something he meant to do. It was just something that happened. It was bad. They were just in the wrong spot at the right time, and bad things happen. All right? So we have that one, but there was nothing about it. Now listen to what it says, though. And no mischief follow. He shall be surely punished. All right, he's got a punishment coming, but he's not up for the death penalty because he didn't mean to do it. Right. According as the woman's husband will lay upon him, and he shall pay as the judges determine. Right. So there we go back to the judges again. Judges determine what's right. Everybody hears the case. Case is settled. All right. And we saw how it was in chapter 19, where we saw this system right here first become with Jethro worrying about Moses. Remember, he was working, right. He was overworking, can't even go anywhere, right. And that was when this all started to gel then, and now here's the law that kind of fills in that, right.
Heads were the priests.
Right, exactly. Right. 23. If any mischief follow, then that shall give life for life. All right, now, so let's go back to that with the woman. He hurt her. He meant to cause her to hit her. And she went, baby, I'm pregnant. He don't want a baby. He hit her in the stomach. She miscarries. He intended to do it. Guess what? He's done.
Yep.
That's right. His intention was different. It wasn't the same. I was whopping the floor and she slipped and fell and had a miscarriage. No. All right? Or for whatever reason, there's sick people out there that will kill a baby and a woman just for kicks. If you ain't been paying attention, there's a lot of them running around. All right? Stretch that neck while you're at it. 24, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, hand for a hand, foot for a foot. Those are fair statements. Burning for burning, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. If a man smite the eye of his servant or the eye of his maid, that it perish, he shall let him go free for his eye's sake. Put his eye out.
That's a random one.
That's stuck in there. That's right. He put her eye out. Or it could probably be anything. Think about not just an eye, a hand. Right. Lost a hand working. Right. Same thing.
Right.
Yeah. That could apply that in a lot of ways. Right. It's going to go way down, and they're really not going to be much help. Yeah. I'd rather not. 27. And if he smite out a maidservant's tooth, or a manservant's tooth, or a maidservant's tooth, he shall let, I messed up. He shall let him go free for his tooth's sake. All right, still, same thing. It's just a repeat of the, right. So if you do damage to somebody, if they're under your charge and you do damage to somebody that changes their life, they don't owe you nothing. It's really something like that. All right?
That's a good clause.
Right. Verse 28. If an ox gore a man or a woman, or maybe it's a pit bull, or whatever, or an elephant, right? Gore a man or a woman that they die, the ox shall surely be stoned, and his flesh shall not be eaten. Why? Because he's a man killer. You don't eat those, right? But the owner of the ox shall be quiet. Doesn't got to say nothing about it. The ox is dead. It's just waste, right? And if the ox were wont to push with its horns in time past, now this guy knew this is a dangerous animal. It's already tried to gore two people. And then there's been witnesses to this, all right? All right? And it hath been testified to his owner, and he hath not kept him in, but hath killed a man or a woman, the ox shall be stoned, and the owner shall be put to death. All right? Because they knowingly then released a dangerous animal on the people. And yes. Yeah, but it would apply to any animal. All right? If you have a boa constrictor and it gets a hold of a 6-month-old baby and kills it, then it would be you that they would kill.
You would die in the animal.
All right? You and the animal, right. And now in my life, I've seen two. Well, you can just probably heard this one. It wasn't too long ago that two freaking wonderful meth heads got so tweaked out they went to sleep and let two ferrets go in their house, and they had a little baby that ate the toes off of it and eventually killed it. All right? Now, hang them too. All right? Because that's the same thing. That's exactly the same thing. And meth don't mean it. Don't give me that, I'm an addict. I don't care. Tough. You're done. All right? Tough stuff. All right?
Like Chelsea's face. You seen her face, those scars?
Yeah, right. Yeah, my brother's got scars from the dog too. Yeah, right. Yeah. So, and we've seen a lot of this, especially with exotic animals. I hate to use pit bull, but that's the one that everybody knows. Because nobody send me hate mail over pit bulls. I know that most of them are very loving animals, and there are a lot of animals that freak out and kill people. It's not just pit bulls, but that's just the one that comes to my head because everybody knows it. All right? I can't say saber-toothed tiger because they've been extinct a while. But you get my point. The idea is to get the point. If it's a snake, if it's a ferret, if it's a dog, if it's an ox, if it's a wild pig, it doesn't matter. If it's known to hurt people and you let it happen, well, you pay with your life if it kills somebody. All right? Verse 30. And if there be laid on him a sum of money, then he shall give up the ransom of his life, whatsoever is laid upon him. All right, so he could buy his way out. Yeah, right, if they agreed.
Right.
Okay, so he's got a way to get out. Okay, wait a minute, you're right. This is bad,
This
but
is wrong. Sorry,
I'm going to try and make restitution for this, all right? I'm assuming the judges would be involved in all this too, right? That may be, right. Whether he have gored a son or whether he have gored a daughter, according to this judgment shall it be done unto him. If an ox shall push a manservant or a maidservant, he shall give unto his master 30 shekels of silver, and the ox shall be stoned. All right, so there's your price, all right? What time are we getting to be? Oh, let's see. Let's see how we got this. We'll finish up this chapter, all right? Because I like stopping on even chapters. All right, so now we're talking about laws about restitution, okay? Now, these are you'll find that these are very common sense too, just like most of the other stuff. There's an element of fair that's involved. If you're responsible, you pay. Just quite honestly is a real simple way to state it. Listen to what it says. If a man shall open a pit, or if a man shall dig a pit and not cover it, and an ox or an ass fall therein, then the owner of the pit shall make it good, and give money unto the owner of them, and the dead beast shall be his. The guy that bought the pit just filled in the grave. Okay? It's fair. The guy built the pit, didn't it? This guy's property fell in it and died, and he owes him money for loss of his property.
About not being able to eat the animal either.
Well, it says, what did it say? What did it give? What's it? Yeah, covered ox. You're right. Oh, yeah, you could. You're right. I said that. I just added that. It might as well be a grave.
Well, I mean, it makes sense, though. Yeah.
If it's a donkey, you're not going to.
eat-
It's a grave then because you can't eat it.
Yeah.
All right. Now,
3 of your sheep fall in there. and I gotta
that's
pay
right.
for 'em.
And that's eating. You can eat them. That's right. You bought them. That's what you did. You bought them. Right. Right. Verse 35, if a man's ox hurts another's and he die, then he shall sell the live ox and divide the money of it. And the dead ox also they shall divide. So your ox killed my ox. We'll sell the living one. We'll split the dead one. This makes it fair. Sounds good and fair. Right? Verse 36, and if it be known that the ox hath used to push in times past, and his owner hath not kept him in, he shall surely pay ox for ox, and the dead shall be his own. All right, so he's giving him the ox, and he gets the dead one in that case. Okay, so now as you can see, now we're going to stop there tonight because I don't want to go through it entire. We won't have time to do a whole other chapter, and I like to stay on even chapters because it makes it easy. And say what? That's right. And so we're on, where are we? Great. Okay, one of my favorite. We get to get back on something I really like. 'Cause we're on false prophets next week, because that's 23. So you're going to learn the rules about false prophets.
That'll help with me in Revelations.
That does. And then you're also going to want to
Not
then
that I need that
take
much
these
help,
rules that we're going to learn about next week then, and you want to just stand kind of here and look around and see what you see. And see how many of today's people that call themselves prophets, right, how many of them would actually have survived the law?
None.
Okay, yeah, pretty close to none. Right, because these boys, when it comes to false prophets, they were serious about murder and civil stuff, but they were doubling down on religious stuff, all right? And they were very serious about it. So that's the thing when we start talking about false prophets. Think who these would have been. These would have been your leaders. These would have been the priests, all right? Now, we're going to find out that when we keep studying law, you're going to find out that sometimes the judges would award different things different ways. The same sin for the Thatcher would be one punishment and one price, but if you were a prince, it was totally different because you owed a lot more because you were blessed with much more. And if you were a priest, you owed the most because you above all people should have known.
And obey the law.
Right, that's right. So they had the highest of all the prices to pay when it comes to law. Again,
And that's crazy.
fair.
They literally are.
That's
the
right.
poorest.
Well, they actually ended up being the most wealthy because
they're not-
11 tribes give to one. Remember, that's where the tithe comes from. Remember, everybody, the tithe, 11 tribes gave it to one tribe, so they were not
But
poor.
aren't they only supposed to keep like 10% for
Well,
their
okay,
well-being?
no, that's how they tithed.
Oh,
They
okay,
would
yeah,
take
I
that,
get it.
and
Yeah,
they
yeah,
took
I
10%
understand.
and gave it unto Aaron,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that was
that's
Aaron.
right.
And
That
Aaron
was- that was
tithed
Aaron,
10%
yeah.
on that.
Okay, yeah,
Right?
that's right, yeah.
So there was a lot to all that. Right.
I'm glad that's
And
all done.
yeah, but all that's taken care of, right? And that's all covered in okay. So we're on chapter 23 next week. All right. Anybody got any more questions?
No, that was a good one.
Because law, like I said, law is easy.
Yeah,
I think.
it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, and we're going to run in a couple, and I'm just going to look at you and go.
I don't know what that is.
Could you tell me? Because one of them sounds like it.
Just go
When I
ahead and
was
ask for
reading it,
forgiveness.
I kept looking at it going, it sounds like he's saying to preserve the little gods and their land. It sounds like that's what it's saying, and I know that's not right. I don't understand
right,
something.
yeah.
I'm missing something. So, but we'll get to that, and I'll tell you, there it is. You figure it out.
I will. I'll think about it.
Yeah, but anyway, all right, that's it. You guys have a good night.
One question.
Oh, hold on a second. One question.
So, verse 20.
On chapter 22, or
Yeah. No, verse 20 of 21. Sorry, chapter 21.
chapter 21, verse 20. Yeah, I told you we were going to actually cover a little bit of room. All right, if a man smite his servant or his maid with a rod, and he die under his hand, he shall.
I feel like that's the one that trips up a lot of people when they say that the Bible's inconsistent and they say that it like goes towards slavery. I think they bring up that verse. How do you say that that one is consistent with,
With what slavery was
Like-
today?
well, like the
Or
other
in the
ones, like the
past.
ones above it
Uh-huh.
in the earlier verses? It seems to be like a mutual respect between the master and the servant.
Yeah.
But then it brings up that if the master hits.
Well, think about it. Think about, like, let's say you're out there
With a rod,
you're-
though.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah,
Your
with a
man's-
rod, and he die under his hand, he
you're
shall
out there
surely
with
be
your manservant,
punished.
and you've got your prod, whatever you're using to move your oxen along.
And you kill
And
somebody.
this guy's
Yeah.
off over here wandering around, not making sure that he's doing his part. And you walk up to him and smack him in the head with that rod to get some focus back in, get him back in line. and
Like I
die.
do my son. Well, okay.
You know what I'm saying? That makes sense to me.
What was inconsistent? You said it didn't.
Because it
people.
sound- the
It's
mutual
like
respect.
saying you can't go free before the 6 years are up.
Oh.
But if I kill you, then it's just.
Oh, I got you. Okay, yeah. Then you'll be surely punished. Yeah. Well, no, he'd be
Right.
punished, and it's not just a news. There could be a lot of things that could happen to this guy. All right. He can do jail time.
He could have to pay his family
Yeah,
an
he can
immense
pay
amount of
money,
money.
right, and his family. So it reads like he's getting off. I get what you're saying. He's
I get
getting
what you're
off.
saying, too.
But the judges had a whole bunch of leeway. It's up to them. They were
Yeah.
the ones that were training the
Just
law
like
to
our judges
determine.
today,
Right.
essentially, really, when you
Right.
think about
They
it.
have guidelines, and and they send us according to the guidelines, right? And so it gets you. I see what you're saying. It sounds like he's just kind of getting off. If I kill you, well,
if I
you
kill
know,
you, yeah.
right? But no, this guy's facing real punishment. It's when he says you shall surely be punished.
I
It means
understand
it.
why you were confused
Yeah,
about that,
yeah,
too.
it does. It reads like it's just kind of, yeah, well, you know, if I put your eye out, you can go free. But if I kill you,
smack
so
with
what?
a
You know.
stick and you die,
So how about I put your eye out, then kill you? Now what?
Now what?
Right, right. No, see, if he did
Well, at
that,
that
he's
point,
going
he
to
becomes a
die.
murderer.
Right, he becomes a murderer at that point, right?
Yeah.
And he's going to die, right?
But if he's trying to get his property at that point back into line,
Right, and something
And
happened,
something
right?
happened,
Then
where
that's
the
where the
person died?
judges would say, okay, what was going on?
what happened,
Yeah.
you know, and then-
Well, I picked up the stick and I hit him in the head because he wasn't listening to me. Well, did you know he was deaf in his right ear? You know, so there'll be things like that come out
Does
in
he have a
court.
history of
Yeah,
this?
right,
You
right.
know,
How
yeah.
many times has this guy been to court on something like this already?
Yeah, that's right.
You know, is there a history? You know, all these things the judges would consider in determining what his punishment is. But I do see what you say. It sounds like if I put your eye out, you can go free. But if I kill you, well, give me another one.
Nothing
You
else
know,
you can
yeah,
say.
no. Trust me, it's not that way. Moses would hammer this guy.
Oh, yeah.
If he killed somebody, and for no reason,
Well,
or for even the reason that was just whatever, he would get hammered, just like he would in
It
our
goes back to
system,
the
right?
simple fact is too that they're not slaves.
They're servants, right?
So
And
to an extent, I bet these landowners, these
Mm-hmm.
masters, had a lot more respect for this.
You're right, they were property, right? They didn't want to damage. They didn't over a whole want to damage, and
No, they don't want to.
they paid a lot of money to get work out of this
get them
person.
work
And if you
after
hurt them, you
6
can't
years.
work them. And,
Right. So
yeah.
they don't want to do that. You know what I mean, these are.
Now remember that this indentured, so any of these indentured servers that we've talked about here, at any time, if their family members can get together the
buy
money
them
to
back.
pay their bill, they are free to walk.
Yep.
First year, 10 minutes, whatever.
It
If they
sounds-
can redeem
To
themselves.
me, like within the culinary industry, we have what's called traveling chefs,
Mm-hmm.
and they literally will live in their van or an RV, and they travel around and they go like once they get out of culinary school, they'll get their job through usually their head chef that trained them, and they'll start them off at a job, let's say in California for 6 months. Well, that job finds them another job for 6 months in another state somewhere,
Somewhere
and
else.
they travel constantly for another 20 years. You know what I mean?
Is that your name?
And
I'm going to shut this off real quick. You see you guys.
The culinary schooling, they can